Sure, I'm Katie Wozniak. I have a residential and commercial interior design firm, and we're headquartered in Barrington, Illinois.
All right, Tina.
Oh, I didn't know who was next. Tina Ramchandani. I am a residential interior designer based in Manhattan, and we focus on warm, modern interiors that I like to call soulful minimalism.
And Mikel.
Yes, I am Mikel Welch. I'm here in New York City as well. I'm a residential designer and the host of Murder House Flip on Quibi Network.
Like the home show everyone's talking about, seriously. I know you're scarred from that a little bit.
Just a little.
Oh my gosh. Well, we'll kind of dive right in. So I'd love to, start with a kind of basic question, but if you had to pick kind of one thing, obviously, everything's changing around us, but what would you say has been the single biggest, most impactful change for you in the past few months as we've kind of seen all these changes take place? And anyone can take it away and we can kind of go back and forth since there's no mic to pass.
For me, it's been, we're designers, so we're so hands-on and visual, and I'm used to having my team right in front of me and really brainstorming, and then the clients in front of us and in our office and our sample room. So it's that now how to adapt and virtually connect and get the same results. So it's been a little tricky and definitely a learning process.
For me, the uncertainty, not just with work, but with the world in general, has been really difficult. It's been causing a lot of anxiety. Where is the interior design world going to be in a couple weeks, a couple months, a couple years? Where is my personal life going to be? Because we love to travel. Can we do that anymore? I know these sound like really lovely things to worry about, but it's hard not knowing what the world is going to be like when you've been used to certain things or along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I would kind of piggyback off of what Tina just said. So I think my biggest issue has been patience. So like as designers, we're all like go-getters. We're all running these firms and then everything gets like put to a halt. And so I had to kind of learn a new normal, kind of like everybody else. But I also found myself like initially beating myself up for like the first 2 weeks. Like I didn't feel like I was doing enough. And I had to remind myself that I'm human. And like Martha Stewart is not built in a day. So I don't have to take on 1,000 different things in the day to fill it up. It's like, you know what? Be patient, like use this time. We never have time off. So just like be patient and just like relax for a second.
Yes.
Right. I like that. It's so true. And I do kind of think at the beginning of this, it was kind of like you were trying to adjust and kind of going a little crazy. And now that it's been a while and we're realizing it might be a while, it's kind of like, okay, let's recalibrate a little. I'm curious, how are your clients, vendors, other people you work with, are they, is that kind of an okay thing for them if you're saying, let's take a step back? Or how are your relationships kind of shifting with that in mind?
I didn't know. You go first. No. You go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I found that my clients, I think people in general are real. So they're a little more realistic in terms of like, okay, my delivery didn't come on the date it was slated. I'm gonna let it ride a couple of days. I think people overall are optimistic and they're patient, because it's life. Like things, they know that if it's outside of, of my ability to deliver a promise, they kind of have to wait. I've had some deliveries that I've had to put on halt, and my clients, they understand, I think.
I agree. I think my clients have been really kind and appreciative that we're still sort of trying to be there for them, even if we're not physically in front of them, and there's not a lot that we can do. All of our New York City construction projects have stopped. Outside of the city, we've tried to keep going if everyone was comfortable, but if one of the vendors was not comfortable, nobody said a word. Everybody was like, you know what, this is not like regular life where something's delayed and broken and people can get upset. It's life. So if someone doesn't feel comfortable coming into your home to install, an outlet, everybody's kind of rolling with it. So I've been really lucky to have such good people right now.
We have a range. Some are very understanding, and then we have a couple that are, wait, why are things delayed? And we really want them, and we want construction to keep moving, but we're really following the guidelines and making sure everyone's safe and staying within the comfort levels. And I think through this, I'm learning that just communication is key with the vendors and with the clients. And really every week, even if it's a client that is not moving ahead right now because of the current situation, we're giving their weekly updates and just saying, we're thinking about you. This is coming up, keep them excited. And then the clients that are anxious, really making sure they know where their product is, and we promise it will be there. We will all get through this.
I think that's a great point, and that's actually the question I was going to ask next is kind of new ways. You're not doing client visits or site visits, and I've talked to a few designers who are FaceTiming people, or they're offering a kind of like, we'll go on on Zoom and do a little refresh. What are some of the different ways that you're communicating with your clients now than you were before?
Well, I was always doing Zoom meetings because I have clients that live all over the country. So not necessarily for our presentations, but for just check-in meetings and discussions, we've done Zoom meetings. Now we're doing it for presentations, which is strange. So we're kind of sending a box of samples, which I know everybody's doing, sanitized, here's your stuff, and then we can look at the samples together. We've also done a couple installations with vendors over FaceTime, a countertop measure and then a countertop installation. And luckily enough, we've been able to I can drive out because the projects that are not in the city, I can go by myself and just check on it. That's a more recent development, but we've been utilizing a lot of like Zoom and FaceTime, which has been interesting. Like, okay, I can only see up your nose. You need to turn the phone. It's not working.
Yeah, we're Zoom and FaceTime a lot as well, more so than we typically did before. We're using Microsoft Teams a lot now, just within our team. We can upload and share files, and it's really working out well for us.
And I would have to say, I've kind of reverted back to, I've kind of like old school meets new school in a sense for me. So I'm used to being a control freak where it's like, I want to go and see it. I want to touch it. Like, but I have to release that now. And I was never one to shop online. Like, I was just like the anti-millennial way of shopping. But now I'm being forced to go in a different direction, and I love it. And the other thing I would say is now I'm relying on my vendors a lot more than ever before, and I appreciate it because now I'm like solely relying on them. Like, ooh, do you think this shade of blue is like I'm telling them like to look up on the paint deck, and I'm really relying on them and trusting them, and that's what they were always there for. And so I'm finding that those relationships are now strengthening because I solely depending on them for a lot of things now.
That's a great point. I wonder, are there any kind of specific things, resources that your vendors have done that you found especially valuable?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I just love the Zoom meetings with the vendors too. We're doing their fabric presentations. They've done FaceTime or the Zoom through the entire showroom so we can see and judge the scale and the textures. I'm loving that. It's keeping things more fun and exciting too.
That's great. I think, it's interesting to think about because I've had this conversation with a lot of people that I feel one of the kind of silver linings of this is that it has really forced all of us to become more nimble. Obviously we're all doing things that we used to say, we could never do that from home or we could never do that remotely. Now you have to. And, maybe if you were someone who was a small business that wasn't going to do e-commerce, now you really have to. And, we're seeing all these people including some of this panel doing Instagram lives and finding different ways to connect. I'd love to hear you all talk about some kind of new tools or new things that you're doing as a result of this that you think will maybe continue into the future.
Well, I think I'm guilty of the Instagram lives. I've been doing them a couple times a week, not just with my vendors, which has been amazing, like you said, Mikel, you're connecting with your vendors much more. This has helped me, connect with my vendors and then bring them another audience, because I have been trying to really support them in ways. If our projects are on hold, then I want them to get business from somebody else. So I've been doing these, lives and supporting them on Instagram, and people have been shopping from them, which I think is really great. I've also really, for the previous point, I use Slack and Trello with my team, and we've been doing that much more diligently, because before we would do it only when we were on the go, but we were sitting next to each other. We didn't have to really message each other. So now that's also sort of infiltrated our lives.
I would say that for me, one thing that I've been like beefing up that was kind of unexpected would be e-design services. I actually had to like restructure my design fees, because I had several people off of Instagram who reached out, and what I'm enjoying about this as a designer is I can have my assistant like create the rendering, so it's keeping my assistant employed at the same time, but it's making my job a little bit easier, because I'm like, here, this is the diagram, these are the SKUs, they place the orders, and I can go on to the next project. So it's opened up my mind a little bit more, and like, you know what, maybe there's something there, because everyone also can't afford, my services, but this is giving them a different way to experience the Mikel Welch design service without, going full throttle. So I would say that's been a change, a positive change. And then just like from Instagram, and I learned a new skill set of like, I become my own cameraman. Like I'm camera, I'm audio, like I can do all of these things.
And I think, it's funny, I was talking to someone today who was looking at an apartment, and she was saying, which, it's kind of a tough time to do that, to look to move. But she was like, one thing I really hope lasts from this is everyone doing the video tours of the apartments. And, that's, that same thing that, this is something that now is a necessity, but we're realizing this could be really good, going forward as well.
Yeah, I agree.
That's great. And, I'm curious what you said too, Mikel, about, people being interested who maybe can't afford to hire a full-scale designer. I think that kind of ties into another interesting point, which is that obviously, it goes without saying, we and everyone are spending unprecedented amounts of time in our homes. I'd love to hear you guys talk a bit about how you think that will impact, or already has impacted, how people think about design, think about their homes. Will we be seeing people, itching to do more renovations once this is done, which is what I hope. But what do you guys think about that?
I definitely think that people are evaluating fully how their home functions. It's not just about how it looks, it's about, which we all hope as designers, that's why we're designers, we want to carry in the function as well as the look, but truly evaluating the kitchen and the elements of the kitchen, how each space is used, the comfort of each space, who utilizes the space in the home. So truly going forward, I think clients will have a whole another level of appreciation for us as interior designers, and work through these functions as well as the comfort and beauty.
I've had several new clients reach out because they've realized that they need to move, like you said, so they're doing the virtual tours. And in New York City, I don't know anywhere else, but in New York City, they're doing virtual closings on Zoom now. So that has been great for business, because people are already thinking about renovating and moving. But even clients that are dear to me and we've done their home, they didn't imagine that they were going to stay in it for their entire lives. So we had designed it one way, and it was more for entertaining. It wasn't for working from home and having kids around all the time. And so now we're sort of doing little renos. We're doing a kitchen facelift for someone. We're doing a living room facelift for someone because it's turned into a playroom. So I think that's been really great, not just for business, but for my vendors. Like I keep kind of going back to them, because it's not just about me. It's the people that have supported me all those years to get here. I'm happy to, even if it's just a reupholster job, I'm like, hey, take this over, fix it up, It's keeping everybody going. So I'm really happy that everybody's realized how important interior design is.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. Like I have a newfound appreciation for what we do as designers just from being at home. I have never spent, I'm sure like none of us have never spent this much time at home. And so I do have several clients who have called me and they're frustrated with themselves. Like, why did I wait so long to do this? And being in the house really makes you sit there and stare at that blank wall with all that negative space. And so it really forces, people to, just like someone just said, to appreciate, designers and just the art of interior design. So I would agree 100%.
Yeah, that's great. I'm curious, someone said, I think it was you, Katie, talked about functionality especially. And I think that's so interesting. I've been talking to a lot of people about, functions that might be different in design, kind of permanently because of this. And I think many people know I'm a long time hater of the open floor plan, and I've made that very clear. But I think now a lot of people are coming around to my side in that when you're at a time when you have the whole family at home, maybe you need a little separation or you need a space that can be flexible, or maybe people feel the opposite way because they think that, you can be doing a lot in there. I'm curious if you all have any kind of predictions on more precise design elements or functions that you think will change because of this.
Well, I have been coming to your side in the past couple of years, so it's not just because of this. I love big spaces, but I feel like you can't do all of your living in just one big space. So I think you need, doors to close or, partitions to move. So I have been, even before this, sort of incorporating like pocket doors or hidden walls or things like that, because you can't, especially with like kids that are doing their Zoom teach from home, I don't know what they call them, the kids are doing that, then you're on your Zoom and the dog is yelling at you from afar. Like, you need the doors to shut so that the sound doesn't travel through that big open space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the back entryways in the new homes will expand too, and places to set things down, wash your hands, clean up. I think there'll be a lot more evaluations of the kitchen too for the people that really love to, or for finding a new love for cooking at home.
Yeah. I'm team closed door at this point. Like I think we need to section off things. And, for me as a single person, it's a lot easier. All right. Well, no, I won't even say that because I transitioned from my living room. I'm sitting in my dining room, which you can see is really the same place. But when I go into my bedroom, it feels good. It feels good to slide the pocket door. And it gives me a firm distinction, like this is different. Like I don't even go in my bedroom because like that's until it's time to go to sleep. But I love that because if not, I would go stir crazy. I would feel like a hamster in a little box. So I'm all about closed doors now.
I love it. I'm curious, hearing that, is there, as designers now probably spending, obviously you put more thought than probably the average person into your own space, but now you're spending so much time in there. Are there things that you've discovered about your own spaces that are surprising or you regret or you're especially happy you did?
Well, we moved in October in the same building. We upgraded our space. So we have a second bedroom, which is where I am right now. So I'm very thankful that we made that jump or we would have killed each other. I did have a closed door for my office in the other apartment, but it was like a hole. So that's great. And now we have been trying to renovate and we just never got around to it because I was too busy. So now I'm forced to reevaluate with this new life in mind, which I'm really also thankful for, because if I did, some entertaining floor plan, God knows what we would be doing right now.
Yeah, we're really reevaluating each of our spaces. So my husband has his space, my son has his space, I have my space. So we're really, I guess, thinking about what we actually need in the space and how it functions now and how to tweak it just so we like it more because we're spending more time in there. So decluttering my son's room, and, he's got all this technology, trying to simplify that. And so it's just generally cleaning up and making it a sanctuary space for each person.
That's great.
I think what I've learned from this process is going to help me when I'm working with clients and we're building from the ground up. So I'm in, like I said, in New York in my tiny apartment, and I have learned that I can't stand my neighbors because they are very loud and I'm sandwiched between noise. So I now have a new appreciation for soundproofing. So any client moving forward, I'm just going to make sure that, they won't be able to hear their kids running upstairs when they're downstairs on the Zoom call. So yes, I've learned that either I need to become a homeowner or I just really need to become well-versed in soundproofing. So that's
Come
what
visit me. We have that extra bedroom. It's quiet here.
Thank you.
I think that's so true. Yeah, one of those kind of underappreciated elements of a home for sure.
Yeah.
So to shift gears a little bit, I know, to me personally, I find so much inspiration in travel and also just in kind of being out and about and seeing things. I know as designers, I'm sure you feel the same way. So I'm curious what is kind of acting as a stand-in now. Do you find you're discovering more on Instagram or Pinterest? Are you looking at more books? How are you kind of staying inspired and feeling creative when you can't leave your homes?
Well, I have been creeping on showrooms.
Ooh.
It's like I'm confessing, because we do lots of walks with the dog. So that's actually really great for my mental health because we're in the air and the fresh air. It's fresher now, instead of staring at the computer. But I live downtown, so there are amazing showrooms all around me. They're just closed. So I've been kind of creeping in the window, pretending like I can go to work. And that's been really helpful. And I have been rereading my design books, just to kind of feel another world, a new world again.
Yeah, I'm loving the books too. I actually got out all my design books that I've had tucked away and rereading and re-inspired. And also I'm out in the country, semi in the country. We're in the suburbs of Chicago, and we have a little place in Wisconsin. So I just love to go hiking up there and on the lake and kayaking, boating. So just nature, and like you were mentioning, Tina, just having my head clear, so that those ideas can fall into place. It's amazing when I have a clear head that I can think so much. Things just come to me then.
I would say I've been team Instagram for sure. This has really given me a lot of time to actually be an active participant in Instagram, because I feel like a lot of times I'm just passively looking at the pictures, but I have gained so many new designers that I follow because I'm actively looking at the photos, because now I have time, which I think is better, because I think a lot of times we're always waiting to get a follower. And so I think it's been nice for me to actually engage with other designers and actually have conversation. I've never met Tina before, and I'm sure after this, now, Tina and I can go have cocktails and this is really good. Katie, I've met several times, but so this is great now. This is great.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting because it brings up, a funny, I think this is kind of a two-pronged thing, one of which I keep joking with my friends that in some ways I'm kind of socializing more now than I ever did, because it's a Zoom happy hour every night. I'm seeing my high school friends once a week, where it used to be, every 6 months or something, because now you don't really have an excuse. You can do this virtually. And I think, in addition, I feel like the design community has always been a pretty supportive, tight-knit one. And so I think that now people are kind of joining those two and trying to make connections and support. And Tina, I know you did a little bit on Instagram of shouting out small businesses. Have you guys found that there are kind of new, increased means of wanting to kind of support one another?
Definitely. I mean, I'm even in our community in Barrington, there's all the support. There's almost the community is rallying around the small businesses and any way to help them. There's Instagram lives of the women's group, and they feature a different boutique and are doing the tours. And I think, next week we're doing the designer tours of the community. So really rallying, community wide, but then across the nation, it's been really great to see everyone support each other and know that we can build up each other and help each other and the small businesses.
Absolutely.
Well, I've definitely been supporting the small businesses, so that's, great. I like that we're connecting with people that we haven't talked to in years.
Yeah.
In the beginning it was a little overwhelming, so I just set some boundaries, like, guys, we can't do happy hour, like I can't have 5 happy hours booked for a night. But I really do enjoy, there are friends that you always want to get together with and your life is too busy with work, which is not a sustainable way to live. Now we see that, so I love that I've been able to connect with people. We've been doing a lot of house parties, so I don't have to sit at the computer anymore. That's my new kind of thing. I'm loving it.
Love it.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of Zooms, but also to your point about small businesses, I've just been trying to do things like locally now, like slowly easing myself out of the house where, yes, I have my Cafe Bustelo that I could make, but I'd much rather give the $3, to my local coffee shop so that she can, stay afloat. So I've just been trying to do that as much as possible.
I love that concept. And I do think, you see it happening in the restaurant world, especially. And I hope that kind of bleeds into design once this opens back up again, that maybe people are thinking, not that there's ever anything wrong with shopping big box stores sometimes, but maybe they're sometimes thinking, what are businesses that maybe need this more? And maybe people are willing to spend a little more if it's something handmade or if it's going to support a worthwhile cause. That would be kind of my hope to see out of this. Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to ask a few kind of fun questions, and I think we have some Q&A questions in our queue. So if anyone else wants to add to those too, I'll ask our panelists that. But first, is there any kind of new hobby or activity that you've picked up at home that you're excited about? I've been making bread. I'm guilty. I'm like one of the 10 million people.
My son's making me jump on his trampoline with him, and I have no excuse not to.
That is a great outlet. I love that. That's way more fun exercise than like going on the treadmill, let's be honest.
I got on the bread bandwagon too. I'm full into the bread, and I never really had time to cook before. I'm not going to say I love it. I'm doing it, but I'm really excited to eat out again. What Mikel had said, in the beginning, we all thought we had to do all of these things because we're used to being workaholics. So I had a whole thing. I'm like, I'm going to learn to crochet and I'm going to learn to this and that. And I didn't learn anything. So I'm just, I'm doing the cooking. I brought out the coloring book. I didn't color. So
I have that too thing too, where at the beginning, everyone kept talking about like what they're going to do with all their free time. And I was kind of like, we're still working, and like I feel stressed. I don't know how everyone else has time to do 8 puzzles a day, but it wasn't happening. What about you?
I have been taking on the art of craft cocktails. So I have this thing where every Friday I've been watching RuPaul's Drag Race. That's like my new addiction. And so I make a new craft cocktail. Like I'll look something up online and I'll just try to get fancy with my coupe glass. Or I think Hadley, you and I were on a Zoom last week and I had an old fashioned. So every week I'm trying a new cocktail.
I love that. What's been your favorite one so far?
Okay, so my favorite, oh my gosh, if anyone I get so excited. So it's something called an Old Cuban. That's the name of the cocktail. And it's basically like a mojito with a float of champagne on top. Life changing. Old Cuban. You have to look it up. As a matter of fact,
now you're coming to live with me.
Yeah, you deliver these, Mikel?
I'm sorry?
You deliver these?
I know, right? I should do a virtual drink making class.
You should. I would totally take your Mikel astrology. I'd sign up. That's a very useful one, I think.
There you go.
So on the other side of things, what is everyone most excited? The first thing they're most excited to do that they haven't been able to do?
Oh, just be with friends. Just, hanging out on the deck or grilling out and just being together. Looking forward.
I'd say hugs, because I need to hug people. I'm getting a massage.
Oh, yes.
And I'm going out for sushi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really missing all the food I can't make myself. That's definitely, that's tough. Like, okay, pasta, I get it. That's fine.
But sushi.
Yeah.
I'm on the food bandwagon as well. I cannot wait to go to the Soho House and have brunch. I just want brunch and that's what I want. Brunch and a cocktail and a proper glass. That's all I want. Nothing crazy.
Love it. Well, it sounds like you have the cocktail part down, but the brunch.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna read a few of the questions in our Q&A queue, and guys, if you have others, please keep them coming. So the first one we have is, are you having a tough time staying motivated and focused? And I'll add to that, if so, what are some ways you've found that really are kind of helping you motivate? I know to me, it's definitely been like delineating a specific place that I'm doing work and setting up my office, even though it's my dining room table, but making it look not like my dining room table. What do you guys think?
I'm definitely having, like, every other day is a struggle. So I definitely can't say that it's easy. It's, it's really hard. Even before this, I'm really good with the calendar. Like, I block out time for things. And so that's kind of forced me to stay in a schedule, because like you have to do these certain things before the day ends. But every day is different. I don't think anyone has the right answer. I think everyone has to figure out what motivates themselves.
Yeah, I'm making a list for myself in the evening for the next day or the next morning, because I am having a hard time staying on track or getting distracted here and there. So I go back to that list, and then I have to force myself to make sure that I get outside, because like I mentioned before, for me, it's that clear head. And sometimes I'm trying to work, and I just need to stop, take a walk, come back to the list. It gets better.
I like the idea of a list. That's smart.
I don't know. I love the idea of a list. I don't know that I've done a list, but what I've been trying to do better at is setting my clock so that I get up earlier. Because like for the first week, it was like, oh, I'm going to watch Ozark on Netflix. And I stay up until 3:00 in the morning. And I'm like, no, you cannot do this. So this past week, I have slowly been like getting acclimated with like, okay, you need to get up by 7:00. And that forces me to like be a little more productive, because I feel like after like 2:30, 3:00, I'm like, okay, the laptop is like shutting down. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I think having that schedule is so important too. And I definitely was tempted at the beginning, especially like if I was binge watching a show, I'm like, I have a lull in the middle of the day, I could just watch one episode, and I had to be like, no, we need to separate, because once I watch that first episode at 2 p.m., it's like all downhill from there. We can't cross the Okay, so another question. You've all mentioned how COVID-19 has changed the way you're doing business. Do you think this will affect the way that you will market or advertise your business in the future? That's a good question. I think that's interesting. Like, Mikel, you mentioned doing e-design. I wonder, is that something you think you'll market as part of your package going forward?
Totally. You know what? Again, I just love having flexibility in a business model. I think, as time changes, like, each generation, there's a new wave of something that comes in. And I think to be successful as a business owner, you just have to, evolve. And so for me, I really think the e-service is going to be something, at least for my team, we will keep, because there's something about handing off a package and the client is happy and they can tackle this on their own, and then I don't have to handhold them through the process. I'm enjoying that. And I'm like, why didn't I do this earlier? Like, it was such a smart thing. And I've also been doing e-consultations where, my clients go online. We do, I've been doing FaceTime or Duo. That way we can walk through the house, and, I'll do an hourly consultation, and then we walk away from it. So I'm enjoying it. I don't have to get on the train. I don't have to get like a Metro card. It's great. I love it.
Interesting.
I agree with Mikel. I was doing in-person, like, paid day consultations before this. So we've switched to virtual, and it's not a whole day because I would die right now. But it is, a couple hours. I don't know what Duo is, so I'm gonna have to download that. But we've been doing FaceTime and then Zoom so I can screen share. We've started virtual design. It's still picking up, and I will continue. But the marketing, I figured out, or I'm figuring out, I'm not an expert, how to market and network online, whereas before I always felt like I had to meet people in person, and I still want to, but it would be, we're connecting somehow, either someone introduces us or on LinkedIn or on something else, and then we schedule a coffee, and now we can't do that anymore. So I'm scheduling a lot of Zooms we're talking a lot more on the phone, and we get right into the questions we want to know about each other because we don't have that time to figure out body language and what kind of coffee is she drinking, and so I think it's definitely made it more efficient. I do miss the in-person, but I'm going to continue with this online networking.
Yeah, one thing we're going to do more of is the Instagram lives. We have a showroom, and just giving the peaks of what we have in-house here to get clients and people excited. And I agree, the virtual has been great for getting us a head start and really not having to go to the job site for absolutely everything.
Yeah. And then we have someone who asks, are you right now able to do projects to completion, or are you just kind of doing certain parts virtually and keeping them on hold? And I also wonder too, that might differ from area to area, it seems like, based on regulations.
Well, we can't install in Manhattan or in New York City. So outside of New York City, we're doing our construction meetings virtually, if they're able to work. But for me, I still need to be there for final installation. I don't know how anyone, like, if you're installing a whole house, no one's going to know where the sofa goes on FaceTime. So I don't think that's going to change, at least in my world.
I would agree. I don't think that portion. I mean, I feel like we can do what we can. Anything else outside of that just kind of has to take the back seat. I will be honest and say on Sunday, I'm flying to Arizona. I have a commercial project that I've been working on. And in Arizona, their restrictions have been lifted a little bit more than New York. So yeah, I'll have my mask, and but I have to make it to that project, because I think the other thing that we have to discuss is, honestly, this is, as much as we try to say like it hasn't impacted us, it's financially, it's impacted us all to some degree. And so this is going to be different, but I do have to check on that particular project.
Yeah, we are still installing, but some of these homes are in Wisconsin, some are Illinois, things are a little more relaxed, but so we'll have the delivery service there. The clients are not home. They are bringing in and installing we are waiting in the car, we all have masks, so making sure everything is separate and streamlined, then checking on it afterwards or going in for questions, FaceTiming. So all these, little tricks. The construction sites here are still rolling. So we've had to be clever with either maybe checking on them after hours or FaceTime. But we're still rolling, just at a different pace, and of course with different restrictions.
And we have someone asked if you price differently for virtual design, and it sounded like you said that earlier, Mikel, at least, that it's definitely on a kind of lower scale or begins there. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I have been, I changed my model, I tweaked it, and so now I just have like a set hourly price that I felt comfortable with, and that's worked for me. But I think you kind of have to come up with your own structure, what works best for your clients. I will say, because I work, a lot of my design is on television. And so I have a lot of people who contact me because on TV, like, I show people, oh, you can create this room for $1,000. But with my high-end clients, like, that's a table lamp. So I have to like tweak my model in different ways. So yeah, I think it's really about finding what's comfortable for you, because I don't think there's a set, and because I know that question will come next. I don't think there's a set answer. I think it's really, what you feel comfortable and what you value, how you value your hour of time. So that's how I would answer.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we are full service. We don't do set fees. We do hourly, because you never know where the project is gonna take you. So we have come up with like little packages, I think yours is maybe more in depth, because you have a whole like team that's putting this in place, but we're kind of giving them like a virtual room design. Here's everything, go buy it. But it's much smaller and it's much more cost effective. But that is also based on every client's needs, because what I say for one client is never going to work for another.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Okay, we have another one that I'm really curious about. Is on more, we talked a little bit about functionality changing after this. And I've had a few conversations with designers about, actual style, color choices changing. And I'm glad Lisa asked, what will the next color trend be post-pandemic? Will it be happy? Will it be neutrals? Will we be staying home? Will staying home more impact maximalism versus minimalism? I'm really curious because I've been hearing kind of like two extremes, which is like either super minimal, super subdued, neutral rooms for like calming purposes, or go all out, make it personal because it's your space and you're in it. What do you guys think? What have you been seeing?
I think people's tastes are still their tastes. I don't think, I mean, I do more minimal design. So you're not coming to me for maximalism, but the people that want minimal still want it. And the people that like stuff still like stuff. So I think I know everyone wants to kind of bring it down to a trend thing because that's really easy for like blogs. But I don't think there's a trend, but that's what I think. I don't know.
No, I agree. I think it's all, even talking about color, looking at color psychology and what really sets well with you, what you feel good in. Each of us are going to be different. Each of our clients are going to be different, and really understanding the core of the client and what the room is used for and how it's used. If it's a room where you need to, maximalism may feel a little overcrowded. It depends on the purpose. So I agree with Tina completely that I think it's going to be all across the board, that it's going to go back to clients really looking at how they function and what they love, because now it's even more about them and less about, oh, this is the latest trend, let's do that.
And also maybe there's something you said too for having things that are more lasting. Like imagine if you're quarantined in your house and you're thinking, oh, I got this really trendy thing that was cool 3 years ago and I didn't really like it. You're probably like, yeah, I wish I'd just gone with something I liked that was more timeless.
Right.
Yeah,
Sorry, Mikel, go
I agree with Katie and Tina as well. I don't think a trend. I think people will be a little scared of like jumping on the bandwagon of a new trend, just because they do have to be in the house and they have to love it. And if they're going to spend, money on the product and a designer, they need to really love it. So I think people are just going to stay true to themselves. And I think as designers, we adapt. Like each one, I'm sure all three of us have various styles. Like I'm a king of neutral over here, as you can see. Like beige is my accent color. However, if a client, wants to get crazy, I'll have to, adapt with that. But I agree. I don't think people you like what you like, and you hire a designer based upon, their portfolio.
Right. No, I think that makes sense. And maybe that'll help people be more mindful in kind of selecting that. Another kind of more little question, are clients being nervous about workers being in their homes, touching surfaces? Are you finding you need to provide additional reassurance, or are there special things you're kind of doing to assuage fears in that sense?
Yeah, I think definitely, making sure we're taking the proper precautions. We're also talking to the vendors and what their processes are before things are shipped to us. A lot of them have wonderful processes in place. Things that maybe are sitting for a little bit longer than they would typically before it goes into the client's home. So, but really just, making sure we're all being smart overall.
Yeah. Great. And then we have I'll end on this question. I think it's a fun one. What are you watching or reading that has provided you with the most design inspiration? I know we talked about getting outdoors and revisiting books, but is there any kind of specific show or movie or book that has given you great design inspiration while you've been at home? I have to say, I'll answer too, because I watched Emma, the movie, if anyone hasn't, and that made me want to absolutely live in that movie set. So that's the choice one for me.
I haven't seen that one. I finished a couple weeks ago, finished Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and I was like, what is this life? It was beautiful. I don't really get to watch a lot of TV in my real life. So that was just stunning to see those sets.
So great. And great fashion in that too.
I've been addicted to Midsummer Murders. I don't like everything I keep saying is like murder related, but
Murder?
no. There's this show. It's a British show. I would say it's kind of like our version of LAPD. Like it's been on, or Law and Order. It's been on forever. But on YouTube, it's in this quaint little British community, and everybody has a cute little cottage. And so I've really been inspired by like just that whole like, you know, English cottage style. So that's been like my main source.
I need to watch all those. I've been watching The Crown, which isn't as inspirational, but I love the English style and the history, and so picking up things here and there.
Absolutely. That's a great one. Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much. This has been great. And thank you to our audience who we can't see, but thank you for watching and for your great questions. And hope everyone stays healthy and happy and enjoys some warm weather coming up soon, hopefully.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.